Visionaries was a short-lived, late 80s cartoon that ran for only 13 episodes. Unlike more other successful cartoons of that time like Transformers, G.I. Joe and Thundercats, which had long runs on TV, Visionaries only had the one season of 13 episodes before being cancelled. But still I look back fondly and remember it as one of my top 5 cartoons of the 80s. The Visionary saga starts on the futuristic and technologically advanced planet Prismos, when suddenly the planet's 3 suns align, signaling the end of the age of science. All technology on the world gradually begins to fail, causing widespread destruction. Prismos society begins to fall apart and regress to a kind of dark age medieval society, with rival communities battling each other for supremacy of the planet and what's left of its precious resources. An item of note is that in the opening scene of the first episode is that you see the future Darkling Lords in their old lives before the fall of their society into the age of magic. Cinder is a construction worker, Viralina is a newscaster, and a clean-shaven Kravex is, in my opinion, the pilot of the plane that crashes at the beginning of the first episode. Sadly, you do not see any of the spectral knights before the world falls apart. But later on in the series, it is revealed that the Spectral Knight Ektar was a cop during the Age of Science, and that he had a rivalry with a notorious criminal and future Darkling Lord Recon, a rivalry that would continue into the Age of Magic, when both would become Visionaries. As a number of years pass after the Cataclysm, the once technologically advanced city of Valaric is under attack by Darkstorm and his armies, hoping to conquer the city in his quest for power. But defending the city is Leoric and his 2 friends, Feral and Ektar. They manage to drive Darkstorm's forces away, while later on the wizard Merklin visits both Leoric and then Darkstorm to invite them to go on a quest for magical powers. Knights from all over Prismos come to Merklin's lair, vying for a chance to win magical powers. The Darkling Lords and the Spectral Knights are among them, plus some generic knights just there to fill out the background. With a crack of the whip, Leoric signals the quest is on. A group of generic knights with Witterquick stop at an impossible-to-pass corridor, but while the other knights cower in fear, Witterquick uses his speed to great advantage to overcome this impossible-to-pass obstacle, and thus prove himself worthy of becoming a visionary later on. After Darkstorm, Recon and Mortrid cut the road bridge, Arzam falls and lands on some branches. While the Darkling Lords laugh above, Arzam pulls a MacGyver on them and uses his ingenuity to use the branches to his advantage to fly past them and continue on his quest. Meanwhile, the 2 female knights, Viralina and Galadriel, fight an underwater duel, where Viralina gets the upper hand, but Galadriel uses her cunning and quick thinking to save herself. Kravex lurks in the shadows and uses some clever trickery to drive away a few generic knights. He uses the opportunity to steal their weapons, like the scavenger he is. An item of note is that Kravex is voiced by Chris Latta, the voice actor that did the voice to Starscream on Transformers. Kravex and Cinder have a confrontation. They clearly have a pre-existing rivalry that probably goes all the way back to the Age of Science, or maybe just afterwards, when the world fell apart. Cinder uses his climbing abilities to get the upper hand, but Cryotech uses his great strength to get himself out of the trap. After climbing his way out of the trap, Darkstorm hears cries for help, and after a while he discovers Kravex, Cinder and Viralina and Lexor all tied up after falling into a trap. They ask him to release them, but Darkstorm says he will only do so if they swear loyalty to him. After a while, they grudgingly agree, and now the Darkling Lords are one united force. As Leoric, Feral and Ektar near the end of their quest, they are set upon by the now 7 Darkling Lords and a fight ensues. Shortly afterwards, Cryotech, Witterquick and Arzan enter the room and decide to enter the fray. And now the rumble is on between the Darkling Lords and the Spectral Knights. As the battle ensues, Merklin arrives and tells them to stop fighting as there's enough power for everyone. All they have to do is go through the door. Cryotech decides to use the direct approach and rams it, and all of them are teleported out. Merklin congratulates the victorious knights for passing his tests and grants them the magical powers they desired in the form of magical animal totems. Verolina gains the animal totem of the shark. Sindar gains the animal totem of a gorilla for his climbing abilities, while Kravex, for being a complete scavenger, gains the animal totem of a Phylot. Lexor, for being a coward, gains the animal totem of an armadillo, which he's none too pleased about until Kravex angrily puts him in his place. Recon gains the animal totem of a lizard, while Mortred, for being a complete bootlicker, gains the animal totem of a stampering beetle, and is soon doing what he does best, bowing before Darkstorm. Darkstorm gains the animal totem of a mollusk for his climbing abilities. Arzon gains the animal totem of an eagle, while for his speed, Witterquick gains the animal totem of a cheetah. Ektar, for his cunning, a fox animal totem, while Feral gets a wolf animal totem, and for his swimming abilities, Galadrilla gains the animal totem of a dolphin, while for his strength, Cryotech gains the animal totem of a bear, while Leoric, for his great courage, gains the animal totem of a lion. Merklin then tells the staff-wielding Darkland Lords and Spectral Knights to dip their staffs into his magical pool, upon which they will gain even more power. Each Visionary has to recite a spell to activate their power, but each staff only has one charge, so they can only use it once before having to return to Merklin to do missions for him in exchange for recharging their staff. The staff's powers are Wisdom, Knowledge, Strength, Decay, Destruction, Fear, and Invulnerability. It soon becomes apparent that the Darkland Lords have got the better end of the deal, as the Spectral Knights' power staffs are absolutely crap, because the Darkland Lords' staffs are more better in a combat situation. Like Sindar's Destruction, it unleashes a powerful monster that lays waste to anything it comes across, and is pretty much unstoppable. The only downside is that the staff has a time limit, so the monster is only around for a little while, but in the meantime it cannot be stopped and destroys anything it comes across. Lexor, on the other hand, has a pretty good magical power staff himself, as he has Invulnerability, which null and voids any Spectral Knight power that comes across it, like Cryotech's Strength, which fires a piddly arrow and nothing can penetrate the Invulnerability shield. Kravex has Fear that unleashes spiders that bite people and make them see their worst fears, which is pretty good in a combat situation. Darkstorm has Decay, which makes people turn old, but it has the added ability of returning that person back to the age they were before they were turned old, which is pretty cool. Cryotech's magical power staff of strength fires only one magical arrow, which is pretty much useless, as once he uses it he has to recharge it, and the fact that it's easily nullified by Lexor's invulnerability says it all. He really should have gone to Merklin and asked for a better power staff. Although in my opinion most of the Spectral Knights have really crap power staffs, Witterquick, on the other hand, is the only Spectral Knight with a half-decent power staff, as he has the power of light speed, which enables him to go anywhere he wants at the speed of light, which comes in pretty handy. Upon witnessing the Visionaries with power staffs get their extra powers, Mortred steps forward and asks Merklin, what about us that don't have staffs, feeling that he is being cheated. Merklin replies that they too will have power, which they'll find out later on. It is discovered in episode 2 that any Visionary that does not have a power staff can power any form of technology they want, including vehicles. Visionary toys these days can fetch for quite a bit of money on eBay, especially if they're in their original packaging. Visionaries also had a comic book series done by Marvel, which expanded on the characters and had a few differences from the animated series. such as the Visionaries did not have to recharge their magic stars in Merklin's pool, but instead had continuous use of them, which they could use over and over again in their battles without having to recharge them.